There we go. Start our movement mantra meditation. So we're going to move back over onto our little mat. So I've put a whole selection of props out this evening. You won't have all of these, and it doesn't matter because most of these are, you can fashion these out of either books or to replace blocks, cushions off the bed to replace bolsters, so whatever you've got. So a folded blanket, we're not going to need that just yet. So we're just going to start with extending our legs, take the buttock flesh out and back, and this really just enables us to feel into those sitting bones, so the bony points of the pelvis. And then take the hands just down by your side and make as many adjustments as you need. You know, when we first come to extend the legs, it may be that we find a little bit of discomfort through the underside of the thighs or the backs of the knees. You may even want to keep a little bend under the knees. Just landing, so we're planting the hands somewhere in line with the hips. Again, the arms extending will be different, arm length to torso length for each of us. So if you need to be on your fingertips, if you need to use blocks, adjust as you need to so that you feel this lovely sense of lift up through the pelvis. So there's a little space between the feet and ankles so that it's comfortable and you feel nice and square across the pelvis. And then just looking forward, crown of the head lifts up. Just settle there, so you're gently pressing into the hands, fingers are pointing down towards the feet, lifting up through the crown of the head. So you can start to bring a little engagement up through the legs, just bringing that sense of aliveness. So we can do that by gently bringing the toes in towards us, a little engagement through the tops of the thighs, and just settle. Now if this feels too strong through the hips and pelvis and the thighs, just soften the legs, okay? We're going to bring a lot of softness to the legs in a moment, but this is simply just to land fully through the body. You can close the eyes and let the tongue rest in the lower jaw. Shoulders releasing down the back and spacious across the chest. So in this sense, our first invitation to release is just simply to surrender everything that has taken place before this moment. So if you're flexing your toes towards you, let's just soften into the legs. Point the toes away and then let the legs release. Gently pop a little bend onto the knees, plant the soles of the feet. Take the hands a little further back, so you may want to move your blanket if it's directly behind you, and then pressing the soles of the feet to the floor, little bend in the elbows, okay, keep the fingers pointing down towards the heels if you can. We're going to gently press into the hands, lift the chest. Keep that sense of openness across the chest. Eyes can be gently closed or soft gaze. And just breathe there. And take that breath through the nose if you can. If you're congested, then breathe through the mouth. Keep the length up through the spine. Deep breaths. Well done. Relax, bring the chin towards the chest. Let the hands come forward and just rest the upper body onto the thighs, forward over the legs. Take some deep breaths into the back, so into the whole of the back. So really visualising the spine and the space between the spinal vertebrae. So you can really almost visualise that all the way up from the pelvis to the crown of the head. And we can release that sense of holding. We were holding on, if we're holding the breath. Well done. Gently scoop yourself up. We're going to extend the legs, and then we're going to bring a little rotation to the feet and ankles. So you may want to place your hands back down just for support. Rotate into the feet and ankles. You can look towards the feet. I find bending the knees really useful here, just to get a nice full range. You really can get into the hip joints here when you allow that little bend under the backs of the knees. And you can go in one direction, feet in towards each other, pointing the toes, really working into those ankle joints that have carried us all through Christmas and last year and everything leading up to that. Any direction that feels good, and it's nice to vary that movement, especially if we tend to pick a sort of habitual pattern of moving in one way. Well done. So I naturally like to move my neck as I move through my ankles, and there is a direct link there between the two. So if you're stiff in the head, in the neck, around the neck joint, you may want to bring a little bit more movement into the ankle joints, and vice versa. Feet and ankles get stiff, bring a little movement to the head and neck. Well done. Relax. Bend up those knees. We're going to take the hands a little further forward and then draw them back. Scoop the pelvis a little further down towards the heels. You can look down towards the feet and just make sure that they're planted about hip width apart. Walk the hands a little closer down towards the buttocks. Scoop the pelvis a little further under, and then gently lower yourself down onto your elbows, forearms and wrists, and just settle. So chin towards the chest, we're not completely down yet, and we're breathing a little bit of spaciousness around that lower back and looking towards the navel. And breathe there. So you can almost visualize the belly button and really watch for that little rise and fall of the belly as much as possible. We're really trying to integrate our presence of mind, as it were, our attention, our consciousness, and really directing it to connect with the breath by watching that breath come in and out of the body. And this keeps us tuned into what's actually happening, especially if the mind is still presenting various files from the day, or perhaps the meal, or whatever's just taken place. So we can really start to surrender into this moment, into this time for our practice, to really connect as deeply as we can, holding on to nothing, feeling into that sense of spaciousness, of possibility. Well done. Now we are going to come all the way down, so release the arms. That's fairly easy to do, you don't need an instruction for that one. And as the head comes down, hopefully this is where your pre-planned folded blanket will be placed under the back of the head, and just check that there is space around the back of the neck, the natural curvature of the spine. Check that you've got some space either side of you as well, so you can release the arms away from the body. Have the palms facing up so that the chest is open and relaxed. Again, in your mind's eye, just really visualize this connection with the belly. You can still feel that connection, keeping the feet hip width apart so the pelvis has that spaciousness across the back of the sacrum. Nice deep breaths. And it may be that, perhaps the arms being extended from the body feels a little exposing, or you prefer to have the hands on the body. You're very welcome to do that. If it helps to breathe into the belly, to place the hands there, you're welcome to do that as well. Otherwise, just allowing the palms to release up towards the sky. The fingers will naturally curl in towards their palms, and there is a wonderful sense of, again, just releasing that holding through the thumb joints, through the fingers. The whole of the body starts to soften. So just settling the mind with the body, connecting with the breath, and really just understanding this is our yoga practice. If we did nothing else for the entire evening, just bringing some consciousness to those three areas, this would be more than enough. So settle into whatever aspect of your practice you can really tune into. And perhaps feel into the heart space, into that desire of just being present with yourself in your practice, to the exclusion of all else. And as you settle, we're going to bring the feet a little closer in towards the buttocks so that we can press firmly into the soles of the feet. Gently lift the pelvis and replant the pelvis. So we're not coming up into bridge or anything like that, but just simply scooping the pelvis a little further down towards the heels, a little bit more length there through the lumbar spine, and then leave the arms out towards the sides. You can step the feet a little further away, opening up that space around the backs of the knees. And we're going to explore bringing the arms a little higher up, okay? So depending how tight you are in the shoulders, and I'm being super mindful of this because come the winter time, if we haven't done much practice or for whatever reason, we can get very tight in the shoulders. So listen to your body, particularly with raising the arms above the head or anything like that that feels different and perhaps a little bit out of the normal range for you at this time. So if you have the arms at shoulder level, that's absolutely fine. If that's fine for you, you can breathe, and that breath is your sort of barometer for whether it's fine for you. And then we're going to bring a little movement to the knees, side to side, okay? You can keep the head central, or you can bring that movement against the head and neck so that as the legs pop over to the right side, the head gently turns to the left. Integrate this with a breath if you can, and you may want to just breathe in and exhale, move into the legs. Release that breath as you turn the head, and then breathe in back to center. Exhale, settle the pelvis, and then come to the other side. And you can do this in your own time with your own breath. And again, the legs may not want to land, there may not be a discernible movement of the legs even. You may just want these movements to be very small across the back of the pelvis, particularly if you've got tenderness around the belly, just being really mindful of what's happening with this full stretch through the side ribs. As we build up into this range of movement and release, you're welcome to really stretch into this, almost elongate the limbs. You can take the arms a little higher up beyond the shoulder height, and you can bring an extra little stretch by picking up the lower leg and placing it on top of the upper leg. Okay, this will just again accentuate that stretch through the opposite side of the body, and you can pause there. Nice deep breaths. Release that leg when you need to. Other side. So again, it's very responsive, intuitive, gentle awareness is all that's required. And perhaps a little bit of honesty. Sometimes these extra levels, as it were, these extra little prompts, they just may not be necessary right now. So keep an awareness what's happening in your body. If there's tightness there, whatever you've been doing today, you may just wish to keep the movements very small and spacious. Well done. Nice deep breaths. So hopefully feeling a little bit more into that lower back. Can feel quite tight around the lumbar area, into the pelvis, particularly if we've done lots of sitting, not making any assumptions. I know there's been a lot of sitting in this house, so I'm going to cast my aspersions just on myself. Feel out the legs when you're ready. Pause there. So let the lower back really settle. Little movement, again, a gentle rock across the pelvis. And again, this might feel different for all of us depending on the set of the pelvis. Check that there's nothing digging in. I've got my fairly baggy harem trousers, which have a really big waistband, but you don't want to have anything digging into the waist like a belt or a zip or whatever. So make any adjustments you need. You can keep the feet hip width apart and then slowly settle. So again, the invitation with the arms, you may feel ready to raise the arms. You can experiment with this and just bring them a little higher. They don't have to come all the way above your head. A gentle bend in the elbows, and then just settle. You can draw legs together for balance. Point the toes, flex the feet. So drawing the legs together will give you a slightly different sensation across the pelvis. And then gently bring the heels in close towards the buttocks. Let's bring the arms up and over the head, hug the knees. And then you can create a little bit of space between the ankles and then rock across the pelvis. Nice deep breaths. So take as much space as you need between the knees, between the feet. Roll as one, so let your head come over to the side with your legs. You can pause. You can take this rock right the way over into that hip joint, and this can feel like a really deep massage for that tissue around the very top of the hip. Curled up like a little ball. And then settle in the centre. We're going to land both the feet, take some deep breaths. You can leave the hands on the thighs, spreading through the palms, nice deep breaths, chin to chest. Exhale fully and just bring your attention back towards that breath. Nice deep inhalation and exhalation. And again, you may be able to really feel that breath as it comes in through both nostrils. And exhale fully. Nice deep breaths. Well done. So, it doesn't take a long time to feel back into the body, even if we've been away from our practice or whatever's been going on. This can be a good opportunity just to reconnect with whatever aspect of our practice is available to us. And it's always available to us. It's just bringing that level of consciousness to it. And of course, a little discipline. Let's raise up the left leg. Interlace the fingers around the back of the thigh and gently press the thigh into the hands, hands into the thigh, relax into the shoulders. Just aware of what's happening with the jaw, nice softness around the jaw, back of the head is supported. If your eyes are sort of rocking back in your head, just bring the chin a little closer down towards the chest, soften into the shoulders. So there is a direct response, a sort of a play between effort and energy as we keep that interlace of the fingers, but we don't want to add extra tension if possible. We're going to bend that leg, change the placement of the hands to the front shin. Extend the opposite leg all the way down so the heel is just drawing a line across the mat. Point the toes and then hug that thigh deep in towards the side ribs and gently out towards the side ribs. So we're from the centre and then gently out. Just creates a little bit more space around the stomach. And really connecting with the hip joint, what's happening in the hip joint. You can keep the toes pointing away. That's a nice stretch for the very top of the foot. And also introduce that same stretch to the extended leg. This is a lovely sort of super dynamic feeling through both legs. bringing some engagement through the top of that thigh of the extended leg. Wonderful. Come back into centre with both legs. Let's peel up the other leg. Just pause there. Again, place the hands on the knees. Nice deep breaths. Flex into the feet. We're going to plant that left foot this time and then raise up that right leg. So we'll take the interlace around the back of the thigh. You may want to just change the interlace of the fingers. So I don't always remember to offer this, but again, like all habits, we tend to always go for the same interlace. So just shift the fingers over slightly. It gives a slightly different stretch to the ligaments and the joints. And this is a wonderful practice. Again, a discipline just to bring that slight variation to our practice. Point the toes, flex the toes. Let the weight of that leg really drop down into the thigh, into the hip joint, into the pelvis. Notice if there's a sort of reluctance to release into the shoulders, and see if you can release as much towards the earth as possible. And then exhale, let's bend that top leg. Change the placement of the hands, and again you can keep that slightly alternative interlace of the fingers, and then extend the left leg away, pointing the toes. So we start with hugging the thigh in towards the chest, and then we slowly take it outwards away from the midline of the body. So it just creates a little bit more space, and this time there's more space around the liver, and of course, you know, the whole of the lower belly area for digestion, and deeper breaths around the diaphragm. Let's point the toes if we've let that go. It's easy to get caught up in a passing thought process that may be occurring, or simply a sensation that we can drop back into, maybe a deepening of that hip joint. Well done. Let's come back to centre with that thigh, draw the other leg up. Let's extend both the legs up towards the sky, and we'll take the arms with it, so we're sort of mimicking this upside down fly. And then you can have a little shake here, okay? A little wobble through the legs. And again, just be super grateful that you're in the privacy of your own home. You can go as wild and wobbly as you like. So bring some rotation into the ankle joints, into the thumbs, into the backs of the thighs and the backs of the calf muscles. Anything that needs to release, just be really free and easy with this. Finish with some rotation, so in both directions. Again, we tend to want to go in one direction rather than both. And then when you're ready, we're going to bring the left leg on the top of the right leg. Bring the arms above the head if that felt good earlier, otherwise go a little wider. Create a diamond shape with the arms if you like. We're going to bring the heels down, use some tone in the belly, a little squeeze of the pelvic floor as the legs land. And then we come into this Supta Sukhasana, so that the legs are landing on top of the heels. You're creating this little cross-leg position, but lying down. Breathing nice and deep into the inner groins, into the adductors on the inner thighs. Well done. It's a real extension of that breath. So every inhale is slightly longer, every exhale slightly longer. See if you can sort of be completely immersed in this invitation of breathing and releasing through the inner thighs. You may like to close the eyes and just settle. The other addition that you may like to experiment with is placing a little blanket across your pelvis, or the belly. So especially if you're chilly where you are, okay, this time of year, it's when we're low to the floor, if you're feeling any sense of draft, or generally just, it's not so much about the heat and the cold, but just this feeling of having a little bit of weight. Sometimes you can do this with a bolster as well, and I really recommend experimenting with that feeling of a little bit of gentle pressure on the hips and pelvis. If it's not for you, if you try it and you think, actually no, I don't like that, I feel too compressed, or I can't really breathe as freely, then just pass it up. You know, these are all suggestions. It's not essential. These are just nice little additional add-ons to try, to experiment with. And sometimes, you know, you may surprise yourself with just that extra sense of really feeling grounded, you know, really rooted in the body, in the present, to the earth. So particularly if you feel quite in your head, quite flighty, lots of movement, this can be a really lovely addition when we land, to really land fully. So you're maintaining that lovely box shape of Sukhasana with the legs. And I should have mentioned as well, if there's any discomfort with the ankle joints, you're pressing down, you may want to place an extra blanket under the ankle bones. That can help. A little bit of padding goes a long way. Let the breath travel as it needs, to the armpits, to the middle back, to the forehead. Allow the scalp to become soft. Well done. We're going to gently move ourselves to change the cross of the legs. So you can release the arms if you've got a prop resting on you like a bolster or a blanket. You may want to gently peel up the legs again into full extension towards the sky, stretch into the soles of the feet, and then when you're ready you can bring that top leg, which is now your right leg, on the top, and then you bring the legs all the way down. So again, before you lower the legs, just notice a little tone around the belly muscles, your core and your pelvic floor, to support that little tip of the pelvis as the feet land. Create that lovely box shape, hips and pelvis now nice and square. And if you found it useful to have something on top of you for the weight, for that sense of place, you can pop that back on, and then you place your arms again up and over the head. As an alternative, you may want to try holding your elbows, and that can also feel really spacious. You're sort of mimicking the cross of the legs with the arms, or you release the arms into a diamond shape above your head and just settle. Okay, so however it feels to you in your body. So we're really utilising the floor in this position to release that tension into the shoulders. And if you find that your elbows are lifting off the floor, you need to release the arms a little wider, please do so. The same if there's tightness around the neck and the chest, you can take the arms as wide as they need, palms facing up, and just allow the body to really respond to this invitation of sort of openness, but fully supported. What could be better as a combination to be releasing and supported at the same time? To be held by the earth and still be able to fully immerse ourselves in letting go. And it may not all happen, immediately. This sense of releasing, it's almost a subtle release, different levels when we feel ready. Let the eyes really soften in their sockets. And we'll take 3 more deep breaths here. So just allowing yourself that luxury of breathing fully in through the nose and releasing. Deep breath in and release. One last time as we breathe in. Feel that breath in the back ribs and release. Well done. Take the arms a little wider. You can almost think of a snow angel against the floor. Take the arms wide, low to the floor. Remove your props gently over to the side. You can use your hands under the thighs to scoop up the legs. We're going to roll over onto our side. Well done. Coming up onto hands and knees. Pausing there, just take some deep breaths. Now, I've doubled up my mat because I found this floor to be quite hard on my knees, but if you are on a single mat and you're on a hard surface, you may want to place your blanket there. Take some deep breaths. We're in a little tabletop position. Hands are placed under the shoulders. Look forward and lengthen. So we're going to pick up around the belly, those little fibres around the pelvic floor, almost pulling a tissue out of a box. It's very subtle. Again, we may not sort of be able to visually see this, but we can feel it. We're just creating some space around the tops of the shoulders and the ears. Tuck under the toes and gently bring a little rocking back and forth. So this will be the first real stretch through the plantar fascia, including into the toes. Deep breaths, getting into those hip joints. Gently teasing out some tension around the wrists. Warming up into the wrist joints. Good job. As we come forward this time, tone in the belly, arms are nice and long. We can bend into the elbows actually just momentarily to sort of scoop ourselves, press firmly into the palms, lengthen through the arms as we come up. Lift the knees, bring the chin towards the chest and let the head release. Let's keep those heels lifted for the first little iteration of our downward facing dog. You can bend the knees, of course. And now bring a little movement to the head and neck just to free up around that neck joint. And then slowly start to extend the legs. Okay, so you can release your heels. We're not forcing them down to the floor or anything like that. Spreading through the toes. A little gentle rock side to side. So again, you can transfer the weight from left to right. Transferring the weight to each hand if you find that useful. Bending into each knee, releasing tightness in the inner groins. Keep everything soft, come down if you need to. Head and neck releases. Keep breathing, tone in the belly, nice length through the spine. When you're ready, we're going to bend the knees, come down nice and slowly. Tuck under the toes. We're going to extend all the way back into a balasana, so a child's pose. Now you may wish to place something for a little bit of support under your head. I'm going to use a block today, but that could be just a cushion, could be a book, could be a blanket, could be a bolster, whatever you've got nearby. And then whichever variation suits you at this time. So arms can be extended, forehead resting. Or of course you may want to bring the arms a little closer in towards the body. If you're on a bolster, you may want to hug around that bolster. Or you can simply bring the arms down by your side and placing the palms facing up. So having the knees a little wider will give you some space to breathe fully, but also for the lower ribs to rest on the thighs. So find which version works for you, and of course it may change. It's not that we're looking to build more habits and preferences in our practice, quite the opposite in fact, but you know, there will be certain days when we feel that compression on the chest or the belly, so having a few variations available to us is really, really useful. The same with the placement of the head. If you feel that you just want to be a little bit higher up today, you can rest on your elbows, forearms and wrists. And if you need some support between the buttocks and the heels, you're welcome to take that with a blanket or a cushion. Otherwise, just settle into your breath, settle into your body. And allow everything else to fall away. Whether that's falling out of the head, being thoughts and ideas, planning, reviewing, all of that stuff. Or the body just simply being still. When you're ready, slowly peeling yourself up, coming up nice and slowly. We're going to come forward onto hands and knees again. And I'm going to turn sideways on, but you can stay on your mat if you're comfortable and you've got some space either side. We're going to be extending a leg. I'm going to turn sideways on just so that you can get a slightly different view. So hands and knees, nice length through the spine. We're going to be extending one leg back, so let's start with the left leg, okay? So we extend that left leg all the way back and then bring it out towards the side, okay? So now you can see what we're doing. Feel free to adjust on your mat if you need to. And pause there. So we can be on the edge of the foot and then rotate so that the sole of the foot lands. So it's like a gentle little turn of the ankle. Breathing deep. So we're planting our awareness down through this right hand, which is placed under that shoulder. Get nice and light on the left hand, and then slowly we're going to start to open up across the chest. Nice deep breaths. Make any adjustments if you're uncomfortable, sharing the load, as it were, through the hand, the supporting hand, and the back leg. The back knee, the back shin, the top of the foot. So not everything is going through that wrist. If it's too intense to have the arm raised up, you're welcome to keep the hand on the hip. You still get this lovely twist through the upper chest, into the back, into the thoracic spine. Exhale, release. Pausing there. Lift up the heel of that left foot and just breathe deeply into that ankle joint. And then when you're ready, we're going to sweep that leg back, keep it raised for a moment, and then bring the heel towards the buttock. Lovely. And then release. Well done. So here you've got the option, you can sit back in Vajrasana, that's on your heels, and rest the palms. Or if you know that's not available to you, hands on the hips, lift up through the chest. Take 3 deep breaths, okay? Nice deep inhalation, exhalation, just settle. So that movement is coming throughout the whole of the spine as well as the anterior spine. Just allow the body to settle. Well done, chin to chest. Come back forward when you're ready. Check you've got space for the other side, or turn around so that you can repeat on the other side, but with this right leg. Okay, so we're lifting up and extending all the way back with that right leg. And then looking towards that foot, bringing it out to the side of its own hip. And then you may want to just check the alignment. So roughly in line with your own front knee. Hip is open and relaxed. Breathing into the arch of that foot and then rolling the sole of the foot to the earth. Spine is long, deep breaths. Well done. So if you need that support under the front knee, feel free to take it. We're shifting the weight into the left hand and then opening up. Beautiful, nice deep breaths. Open into the chest. Again, you can relax and place that hand on the hip if you need to. Otherwise, we are breathing deep through the whole length of the spine. Sharing that load, as it were, between the supporting points that are in contact with the earth. Exhale, release. Well done. Bring that hand all the way back. Good job. Lift up the heel of that extended leg, and then the whole leg comes back in line with its own hip, and then bending that knee, heel towards the buttock. Just nice stretch into that front thigh. Wonderful. Release that leg. Good job. Now you can come back to that very first position if you like, of extending the legs. Have a little shake out through the hips and the pelvis. Again, you can adjust the buttock flesh. Have a little shake out of the feet and ankles. You can even do the same with the wrists. They've been working pretty hard for us this evening. Little shake of the legs. You can even do a little energy bath all the way from the feet, especially if they've got a bit cold, up through the ankle joints. In fact, all of the joints, you know, really just honouring these wonderful joints that work so hard for us. They're often the areas we can feel the pain and tension or inflammation. So really just breathing into all of these areas. Well done. You can finish this little movement with bringing soles of the feet in towards each other, hugging the toes together with the hands interlaced. This is sometimes known as butterfly. I'm going to turn this way as well so you can see. But this is Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose. Lift up nice and tall through the spine. And breathe. And again, don't get too fixed on the placement of the legs. Just breathe into the sensation of releasing through the inner groins, of deepening our awareness of the pelvis. Wonderful. Release the hands Grab yourself a little drink if you've brought one with you. Take some deep breaths if you found that quite strenuous. Difficult to gauge after such a long break. And maybe it wasn't a break, maybe you've been practicing every day, what do I know? And now we're going to get ourselves a few options for the meditation position, which you may already know what you like, and again it's a chance to try something slightly different. First we'll check the temperature. As you can see, I've got loads of layers on this evening. I was not taking any chances of getting chilly, but feel free if you want to dim the lights, grab an extra layer, put your socks on if you were warming them on the radiator. You may want to pop them on now. Have some water or your tea if you bought some tea, and then we'll slowly get ourselves organised and set up for a comfortable seated position. And as always, you know, this can be something that suits your body. So I mentioned when we sit back on the heels, this is Vajrasana, hands resting on the thighs. This can be really, if you're comfortable in the knees, this can feel really quite powerful to sit in this position, because you have this wonderful sense of thunderbolt through the spine, quite closed in, you know, quite drawn in. As long as the shins are happy and the ankles are happy, and the knees of course, then this will be available to you. And it's worth exploring, even if it's just for a few moments in your practice, and then building up to sitting in your meditation. Otherwise you may like to try the Sukhasana. We did the extended version on the floor into the supine version, but you can again take some support under the pelvis. I've added a block here just to sort of illustrate a couple of things. One is if you really collapse in your lower back and you find it really difficult to hold yourself up, adding a little lift under the pelvis can work really, really well. But I'd recommend having perhaps two of these thinner blocks together, placed side by side in that position, just so that you've got the full space of the pelvis supported. And you may like to use a blanket around the front shins for this. Again, adding all the support that you need. You can always sit up on a bolster or a chair, whatever works for your body. Never worry about trying different things, because the body sort of opens up over our practice, time of our practice, and different things become available and more comfortable. Well done. So assuming you've picked a wonderful position, that you're evenly supported across the pelvis and you can breathe freely. I'm going to demo one more as an option. You can choose any of these. Kneeling is also available. Being upright is the key. Good job. Hands to the heart space. We're just going to settle. So feeling into this sense of the seat itself. So the asana being the seat. Across the pelvis, settled, the body settled. You can close the eyes and just feel into both sides of the body. And just check in whether there is a small adjustment that is requiring some attention. And make the adjustment. You know, don't suffer. And watch as the mind slowly becomes satisfied with the stillness. And the eyes can be gently closed or soft gaze. And just notice any areas of tension around the joints that we mentioned earlier, maybe the knees And then from here we're going to change the position of the hands to another mudra that I know we've looked at before, which is one of unshakable trust. So we interlace the fingers, plant the palms across the heart space and really connect with this area of the heart. Let the elbows release. Really get a sense of the openness across the collarbones and releasing through the neck. Staying centered through your pelvis, drawing up through your spine. And just become aware of the heart. So as a blessing for our 2025, entering into this new year, may we enter this without obstacles. I thought we could chant to Ganesha. And you can visualize Ganesha as the elephant god, as is sometimes known, or ganapataye, gum, all the different names of Ganesha. Removing obstacles, so we can take this into our practice, into our intention, a sankalpa for our meditation, for our whole year ahead, releasing what we can with the breath, with our intention. So we'll take a deep breath in, exhale fully. We start with Om. You're welcome to join in with the sounding or the listening, and then we'll drop into our meditation. So a deep breath in to prepare. Om Gam Ganapataye namaha. 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 Take a deep breath in. Exhale, release. And gently allow the hands to release if they were still in a mudra, releasing the hands onto the thighs. I'll mind the time. We'll meditate for a short time, taking some deep breaths. Eyes softly closed. this with Iti, and take a deep breath in. Exhale. Deep breath in and release. The last time together, deep breath in and release. We'll slowly allow a little light and colour into the eyes, interlace the fingers. Gently extend the arms away, breathe into the back ribs. Gently bring the chin towards the chest. Breathing into the back ribs so the back of the heart space has a chance to release. And then slowly take the arms wide, palms open, eyes gently look up. We're going to lower the jaw, release into any tension, let the eyes rest in their sockets. And release. Well done. We're going to move into Shavasana, so our last posture of this evening. So if you wish to dim the lights a little further, you're welcome. Come down onto your mat. Take any props that you need. So you may want some support under your knees. You're very welcome to do that with a bolster or a pillow. And again, eye pillow over the eyes if you find that useful. Take your support of your folded blanket, if you've still got that nearby, under the back of the head. You may want the extra blanket over your body to keep nice and warm. Well done. Nice deep breaths. Just going to dim the lights a little here. As you come to lay down, just keep in mind that same awareness of the central channel through the Sushumna, this energetic channel, through the pelvis. Let the feet just flop out away from each other. Take that support under the back of the head, bringing the chin towards the chest. Release the arms away from the body, tucking under the shoulder blades, so make any adjustments you need. Again, little movement side to side with the head, checking that there is space to breathe, softness around the back of the neck. And closing the eyes, allow the tongue to rest in the lower jaw. Deep breaths. Allow the whole of the body to come to rest. Releasing all tension, releasing all holding, resting in that deep peace of yourself, resting in the heart space, resting with the breath. Taking an extra deep breath into the belly. And exhale, release as you slowly start to bend up your knees, resting the soles of the feet to the earth. Allow the pelvis to settle. Long, deep inhalation and exhalation. When you feel ready, you can start to roll over onto your side, to just lie on your side for a few breaths, whichever side suits your body. Allowing some light and colour into the eyes. And when you feel that you're just about ready to come around, pressing up from the side, coming up nice and slowly, head comes up last. Take your time and come back to that comfortable seated position. Bringing the hands together. And just connecting back to that heart space. That deep peace in yourself. Let's take a deep breath in. Exhale, release. Namaste. Bow to you, reverence to you. Blessings for 2025. And I hope to see you a lot in this year in your yoga practice. So thank you for joining me.